Your DNA remembers a war you were never taught about. Not a kingdom, not an empire, not World War I or II. Something older, something so violent it may have erased almost every man on Earth. And the terrifying part? Scientists think the evidence is still inside you right now, because buried inside every human body are roughly 3 billion pieces of genetic code, tiny biological instructions passed down across thousands of generations. But hidden inside that code, researchers discovered something disturbing. Around 5,000 to 7,000 years ago, male genetic diversity suddenly collapsed. Not slightly, catastrophically. According to some studies, up to 95% of male lineages disappeared. Think about what that means. Imagine 20 men standing in a room. 19 never pass on their bloodline. Only one does. Now scale that across Europe, Asia, the Middle East, possibly huge parts of the ancient world. It may have been the first global human catastrophe, and almost nobody talks about it. At first, scientists thought maybe it was disease, or famine, or some natural disaster. But then they noticed something strange. The genetic collapse only appeared in Y chromosomes. The DNA passed from father to son. Female genetic diversity stayed relatively stable, which meant this wasn't wiping out everybody equally. Something was specifically happening to men, and suddenly the theory became horrifying. What if ancient humanity entered an age of non-stop slaughter? An era so brutal, entire male bloodlines were systematically erased. Not conquered, deleted. And this is where archaeology gets disturbing. Because once scientists started looking closer, they found bodies everywhere. Mass graves, broken skulls, arrowheads embedded in bone, entire villages wiped out. One site in Germany revealed the remains of men, women, and children dumped together in what looked like a prehistoric execution pit. Most had crushing injuries to the skull. But here's the detail that chills researchers the most. Many showed no defensive wounds, meaning they probably weren't fighting. They were running. And then things get darker. At multiple massacre sites, young women were missing. Not dead, missing, which suggests they may have been taken by the attackers. Imagine surviving a raid only to be dragged into another tribe by the people who killed your family. That may have been normal life back then. But honestly, that's still not the worst part. Because archaeologists eventually uncovered a place called Herxheim, and what they found there didn't look human. Thousands of human remains surrounded a Neolithic settlement. Bodies butchered with terrifying precision. Skulls split open. Bones shattered for marrow extraction. Human remains carved apart like animal carcasses. Some bones even showed evidence of cooking. Scientists believe parts of the victims may have been eaten. Now stop for a second. Imagine discovering evidence that prehistoric humans may have systematically hunted, captured, dismembered, and possibly consumed other humans on a massive scale. Not because of one psychopath, an entire community. And somehow, they were organized enough to do this repeatedly. Which raises a terrifying question. What the hell happened to humanity back then? Why did violence suddenly explode? And here's where the story changes completely. Because the answer may actually be civilization itself. Before this period, humans mostly lived as hunter-gatherers. Small groups, constant movement, limited possessions. Then agriculture appeared. Farming, permanent settlements, food storage. land ownership. And suddenly humans had something completely new to fight over. Territory, resources, power. For the first time in history, raiding became profitable. Think about it. A farming village meant food, animals, tools, women, children, land, all concentrated in one location. And if your neighboring tribe was starving, why wouldn't they attack? This is where most people fail to understand ancient violence. It wasn't random chaos. It was efficient. Kill the men, take the resources, absorb the survivors. And over generations, entire male bloodlines vanished forever. Not because humanity almost went extinct, but because certain groups of men completely replaced others. And honestly, that idea is more disturbing than extinction itself, because it means modern humanity may partly descend from the winners of prehistoric war, the lineages that survived, the clans that conquered, the men who made it through the bottleneck. Your last name, your ancestry, even parts of your DNA might only exist because someone thousands of years ago survived unimaginable violence, and someone else didn't. But here's the strangest part of all. Despite how brutal humans were, we actually became less violent over time. Not immediately, not even close. Wars got bigger, weapons got deadlier. But civilization slowly created something ancient humans barely had: cooperation beyond the tribe, trade, diplomacy, law. And eventually, strangers stopped automatically meaning enemies, at least most of the time. Which means, right now, you are probably living in the most peaceful era any human has ever experienced. And yet your brain still carries instincts born in a far darker world. A world where trusting the wrong group meant death, where villages vanished overnight, where skull cults decorated settlements with human bones, where survival itself selected who would exist thousands of years later, including you. Because long before recorded history, before nations, before kings, before empires, humanity may have fought a war so brutal that your DNA still remembers it. Long before civilization, humans survived nights filled with predators, darkness, and fear. If you want to see what that world looked like, watch the video above.